Okay, in case you hadn't heard, Manchester City are officially champions of Europe. Congratulations. Now, Pep Guardiola has become the first ever manager to win the treble with two different clubs. So Barcelona in the 2008-2009 season, and then Manchester City just this weekend. So there was I can't remember who put it up, but it was a really brilliant video, and it just had all of the titles and all of the trophies that Man City had won popping out of his head. Listen, he is some manager, and I understand that you give him great players, and he said this before. He's like, look, I couldn't do it with a team at the bottom of the table or something like that. But Ali, in terms of winning that many trophies, how good is he?
Well, I think he's just a personal opinion. I think he's probably the best coach in the modern times, to be honest with you. There's been some great coaches, but he's changed the way that football's perceived, certainly in Europe and England, the way his teams have played. And I think he's probably, the obvious question they say, who better, him and Sir Alex and all that kind of stuff. And it's like the argument or the discussion we've just had before. It's very, very difficult, bordering on impossible to compare coaches and managers. But the one thing that you can do, as you can do with Djokovic, you can see how many trophies they've won, and that's where that's where probably the top managers are gauged more than anything else. But you look at the different jobs that people do, whether it's Neil Warnock going to Huddersfield and having a ridiculous season, keeping them up and things like that. So it's impossible to gauge, but where you determine it is what trophies they've won and what style of football they've played. And Manchester City have been excellent in both those departments.
Indeed they have. Right, let's find out a bit more about Saturday's final. Italian football expert Daniele Fisichella is joining us right now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Hi, good morning, Laura. Good morning. All good.
Hope you've recovered from the weekend.
Just about.
So me and Ali were saying earlier on, sometimes you don't get really exciting finals. It just doesn't happen because it's kind of a little bit cagey. What did you make of it all?
It was a great final from our perspective, but the result, of course, Inter played the way they wanted to play. And I think by doing that, with that approach, they gave themselves the best possible chance to go toe-to-toe and to hurt the best team in the world right now, which is Manchester City. We knew Inter were going to be physically very, very good. They finished the season strongly, and they showed that. I think perhaps in terms of physical condition, they were better than Manchester City. Certainly, they were able to run across the pitch more, because most of the time Manchester City had the ball, so Inter had to do that anyway. Obviously, the result makes history. I think in 3-4 years' time, very few people will forget the fact that Inter had so many chances, that they hit the bar, that Ederson makes a save that is a little bit amazing and a little bit lucky, I must say. And obviously, everyone will remember the treble of Manchester City, but that's rightly so. For Inter remains the regrets, of course, of having come so close in such an important game and having missed those chances, because the problem is that you never know when the next final of a major European trophy for a team like Inter is going to come.
I think your analysis of the game is spot on, because I think from Inter's point of view, Daniel, I think the game probably just went really according to plan, apart from their finishing. I mean, we're sitting here saying, Manchester City didn't play well, and they didn't play well. However, a lot of it was down to the way that Inter played. And I think from Inter's point of view, I think you're spot on. I think the levels of fitness were superb. The only thing that Inter lacked was the cutting edge and the final thing, which is the most important thing, as we know, and that's putting the ball in the back of the net.
I think, Ali, tactically, Inter were set up really well in the middle of the pitch, because Inzaghi decided not to go man for man with the three midfielders, but having the midfielder trying to run across and cover perhaps even two spaces to mark two players. So you could see Barella covering on De Bruyne, but also being able to step up on Gundogan. So basically, it was the way they were passing the man on as well and shifting from right to left. Let's not forget, Inter had the advantage with the man over in midfield. And we know that Manchester City suffered this season, obviously suffered between brackets, against teams that play with 5 men in midfield. So they were able to do that, shut shut down the middle channels and only allow Manchester City on the wings. And of course, in defense, they were perfect, almost apart from the goal when Bastoni comes out too early and leaves the space for the very good pass from Akanji into the path of Bernardo Silva. Of course, they will rue the missed chance. I think what Inter lacked was a little bit of cool heads in the final third. They rushed a few passes also in the first half. There was a little bit of anxiety towards the end of the game. And of course, the finishing wasn't great. But, if you look at the big chance, apart the one we mentioned with Lukaku, also on the 0-0, Lautaro has a great chance to square it. And I think there he was a little bit egotistic. He tried to went for goal. But that was it. It would have changed. Look, when we arrived at the 65 minutes, I was at the San Siro. I watched it with the 44,000 Inter fans. It was an amazing experience. But when we arrived at the 60 minutes, the guy next to me, we looked in the eyes and we said, now we are entering a new world, a new territory, an hour gone. From now on, anything can happen. Potentially, there is another hour of game if Inter stretches it up to the extra time, and this is the perfect scenario for them, of course.
Daniel, I want to ask you about a bit of transfer news. We saw Onana in the final, of course. He's also caught the eye of Chelsea. So the reports today are saying that Chelsea could want to swap Onana for Lukaku and Koulibaly. Is there much truth in that? What's the reports over where you are?
The report is the same. It has been reported in Italy as well. So I think bottom line is that there is a little bit of truth in terms that Inter, having acquired Onana last summer on a free transfer, obviously they will make a massive gain if they were able to swap it for two players and offload it to the Champions League. However, the common feelings between commentators is that if Inter does allow this operation to go forward, it will kind of be a sense of a bit of a downgrading, because Onana has been extremely good this season. It is a young player, and obviously Inter could build a future on them. Nonetheless, Inter do need a centre-back because they will lose Skriniar to PSG. So Koulibaly, being a very good centre-back and with a lot of experience in Italy, of course, will be really good for them. Lukaku seems that he wants to stay, and the president of Inter has confirmed that Lukaku deserves to stay. Despite arriving in the Champions League, Laura, Inter are still a team that it feels like they live by the minute. Their finances are not very healthy. Of course, they recouped more than 150 million thanks to this amazing journey to the Champions League final, but they kind of need to seize the moment and and try to make business where they can. And of course, Andrea Onana is a man in demand. So I wouldn't be shocked if this transfer goes ahead.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.